In this video, I'll tell you 6 things I wish I had done before I started my dust control project. But before I jump into it, let me tell you that you may have the best dust control product in the world, but if you apply it on an unprepared, unpaved road, then it will be just a waste of time and money, okay? First of all, you will not improve the ride quality of your road. Secondly, the effect of the treatment will be short-lived, and you will have to prepare again the road in a very short period of time, meaning that the effect of the dust control product won't be as effective. So let's jump into it. Number 1, that is drainage. Okay, you have to have a proper drainage in place if you want your unprepared road to perform at optimal level. And if you do so, you will, 1, reduce erosion, you will reduce slipperiness, and you will avoid the creation of potholes. Now, in order for you to have a proper drainage in place, you need to take into account 2 main factors. The first factor is that water must drain off the road as quickly as possible without eroding the surface. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do you achieve that? Well, you achieve that by crowning the road. That is very, very, very important, because I have seen many times before where companies, they just jump into applying the product without either preparing the road and giving it a crown. So before you give the road a crown, you need to know at which level you have to do it, right? And the magic number is at 5%. So you need to crown your road at 5%. If you crown the road at less than 5%, let's say 4%, so what you will do, you will actually allow water to pond on the surface, meaning that it will create soft spots on the road surface, which ultimately will lead to the creation of potholes. So when it rains, if the crown is less than 5%, the water will remain on the surface, and that will create potholes. Now, but what happens if you crown the road above 5%, let's say 6% or 7%? Well, in that case, you will, the ride experience will be very dangerous, and you will cause erosion, right? But if you have, if it is a dangerous road to drive on, then you may cause accidents on your mining haul road or your construction haul road. So, and the second factor to have a proper drainage in place is that you must not allow at all costs you must not allow water to pond next to the road, because if you do so, you will allow water to ingress to the road, and that will soften the material, and again it will create potholes. But apart from that, all your trucks or your car could get stuck in the water, which at the end could lead to truck accidents. So at all costs, you must not allow water to pond next to the road. Okay, that's the first thing I wish I had known. The second one is shape a road before applying any dust suppression. Okay, never ever you shape a road when it's dry, because that will loosen up a section of cross of the road, right? So now what you may be asking, all right, okay, if I have an unpaved road which is very high, let's say you are located in Texas in summer, or Saudi Arabia, or any other hot country, and you have a dry unpaved road. Well, in that case, what you need to do, you need to apply water on the road. First of all, because you will break the soil tension, and second, because you will bring the top 2 inches or the top 5 centimeters to about near its optimum moisture content, or OMC. Now, how do you determine the soil's OMC? Well, you can either use a microwave oven on site and compare the results that you obtain on site to the one you obtain in a lab test. But if for some reason you didn't carry out a laboratory test, then you can do what I call the squeeze test. Now, you may be wondering, what is the squeeze test? Well, the squeeze test is that you grab a handful of material and you squeeze it in your hand as hard as you can. And when you open your hand, if the soil hold the shape of a ball without releasing water, it means that the soil's OMC is at its perfect level. Okay? But if you squeeze the soil in your hand, and then when you open your hand it leaves a sheen of water on your skin, it means it is too wet. And if it crumbles, when you open your hand and it crumbles, it means it's too dry. So let me do a recap about these three important things. So if it crumbles, if the soil crumbles in your hand, it means it is too dry, so you need to apply more water. If it leaves a sheen of water on your hand or on your skin, it is too wet. That means that you have gone above the soil OMC, optimal moisture content. And if the soil holds the shape of a ball without releasing water, it means that the soil is at its OMC. Okay? So once you have determined that, you need to shape the road, and you do so by using a motor grader with a slope meter, right? You need a slope meter because then you need to crown the road, which I have already explained in my previous point, but you need to crown the road using a motor grader with a slope meter. And after you have done so, the final step would be to compact the road using a smooth drum roller. Okay, no vibration please, but then you need to compact it either at 90% or 95% of its dry density. Now, that will depend on your project needs or on your client's need, because I have had clients where they requested me to compact the road before applying my product at 90% or 95%. Again, that would be up to you, or that would be up to your client. The third thing I wish I had known before I started my dust control project would be understanding the wearing cost thickness requirement. Okay, you need. When you apply a dust control product on an unpaved road, where the surface has been worn away over time, it is just a waste of time and money. Okay, you shouldn't apply. Let me repeat that again. You shouldn't apply your dust control product if your wearing cost has been worn away over time. So in that case, what you need to do, you need to import new material to your site. Right now, you have to take into account that that your wearing cost, the wearing cost of your road should be level with or above its natural ground level, because if it is below, then you will have drainage problem. Okay. Now, in terms of, once you have brought your material into your road, so in terms of road structure, you need to take into account that the minimum should be the wearing cost should be at least 30 centimeters above the natural ground level. That's the minimum, right? So you can avoid all the drainage problem, because imagine if your road is below it's below the natural ground level. So when it rains, you have a whole series of problems that I won't get into it right now. But the recommendation would be that it has to be at least 30 centimeters above its natural ground level. Now, in terms of the thickness of the wearing cost, well, that will depend on your project. Because if you let's say you have a heavy traffic mining haul road, and you need to control dust by using a mix-in application, meaning that you have a soil stabilizer or some sort of dust control agent that needs to be mixed with the product, with the soil. Well, in that case, the thickness of the wearing cost will depend on the traffic volume, because again, if you are if you want to control dust on a heavy traffic mining haul road, at least the thickness of the wearing course should be 15 centimeters, between 15 and 20 centimeters. Now, on the other hand, if you are treating a light traffic unpaved road, then the thickness of your wearing course should be between 10, 11 or 12 centimeters. Again, that will depend on your project, but the minimum for any unprepared or unpaved road should be 10 centimeters. The fourth thing I wish I had known before I started my dust control project is road geometry. So road geometry has to do with the width of the road, length of the road, drainage, shaping and blading of the road, the compaction of the road. So everything to have a proper unpaved road has to be with the road geometry, right? So just so you can improve the road geometry if you are using already unpaved road, or if you are designing a new unpaved road, then you can take into account all those elements. So, for example, if you want to design a mining haul road, a new mining haul road, then you need to take into account the width of the road, which will be different than if you want to apply a product, or if you want to design a new unpaved road for light traffic, medium or heavy traffic, but in a rural area. Because if you are dealing with a mining haul road, then the width of the road should be about 25 meters. But if you want to design an unpaved road in a rural area, then we will be talking about between 6 and 7 meters wide. Right, okay, number 5, and that is application rate. So this is a very important thing I wish I had known, many years ago, because not all the product has an equal application rate, and even for one product you may have different application rates depending on your project. For example, in my case, with my company's product, then we have many application rates depending on your project. So, for example, if you want to control dust on a heavy traffic haul road, then we'll be talking about 0.68 liters per square meter. But then that application rate will vary if you want to use it on a light traffic haul road, or if you want to apply it on slope or stockpiles or working areas or road shoulders or helipads or runways. So again, it will depend on your project needs. So please ask your supplier what's your application rate, okay? And if for some reason your supplier doesn't give you the exact application rate, run away, okay? Just go and find a new one, because it means that supplier doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? So the application, when I talk about application rate, I'm referring about the application rate of the product and the dilution, because some product needs to be diluted with water. We do have a product that doesn't need to be diluted with water. That's our latest technology. But again, most of the product needs to be diluted with water, and you need to know the parts of water you need to dilute your product with, okay? So again, the parts of water will depend on your project, on your product, and on your project. But for example, in our cases, in my case, with my product, if you want to apply our dust suppression on a heavy traffic haul road, then you need to dilute it at 6:1. That is, per 1 liter of product, you need to dilute it with 6 liters of water. Now, that's for a heavy mining haul road, but again, if you want to apply it on a light traffic, then the application, the dilution or the part of water would be 8:1. So again, it will depend on the specific application. But please do not be smart and think like, all right, okay, if my supply said to me I need to dilute it 6:1, and then I will just do 8:1 so I can yield the product more, so it will be more effective, or I can cover more area. Please do not do so. Do not do so, because your supply knows what the application and the part of water are. Okay, so if your supply say apply 1 liter per square meter and dilute it with 6:1 at a ratio of 6:1, please follow their instruction. Again, if your supply for some reason it doesn't tell you the application rate or the part of water, just run away because they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, so that's the fifth thing I wish I had known. And the last one is application techniques. I mean, there are more than one application. We have the spray-on application and we have the mix-in application. So let's talk first about the spray-on application. So first of all, you need a water trough, okay, because that's where you will pour the product, and then you will add water, so you have the dilution. So you need to have a water trough with a pressurized spray bar at the back. Okay, now it's very important that you don't use or you avoid gravity-fed application, because it would lead to over-application or under-application. So if you want an even application, please, you must use a water trough with a pressurized spray bar. So that's the only equipment you need for a spray on, right? So before you apply the dilution on the road, I would highly recommend that you dampen the road, so you break the soil tension and you allow the penetration of the product. So before you do anything, you just damp the road and then you apply the product. Again, you need to take into account the application rate and the dilution, and then you just apply the product. Now, in most cases, the application consists of a series of applications. I mean, it's not usually only one. I mean, at least you have to do 3 or 4 passes of your product. Again, that will depend on your supply. You need to ask this to your supply, but let's assume you have to do 4 passes, right? And let's assume you have 1,000 liters of dilution in your water trough. So if you have 1,000 liters and you have to do 4 passes, then you need to divide 1,000 by 4, and that would be 250 liters, meaning that you will need to apply 250 liters, right, in one pass, then another 250, another 250, and the last 250 liters, which will account to 1,000 liters. Again, ask your supplier how many passes do you need to apply, but based on my experience and my product, you need at least 3 passes. So that's the spray-on application. Now let's move to the final one, which is the mix-in application. So the mix-in is when you actually mix the product with the soil, but in that case, it will be more expensive because you need more equipment, labor, and time. So in terms of equipment, you need a water truck, you need a road reclaimer, you need a motor grader, you need a compactor, right? So the first thing you need to do, you need to mix the product into the soil by attaching your water truck to a road reclaimer, right? So once you have done that, once you mix the product with the soil, and then you need to take into account the depth of the mixing, but that will depend on your product need, because you may need like 5 centimeters or 10 centimeters or 20 centimeters, but then you can adjust that width to your road reclaimer. But if you have already figured out what would be the width of the application, let's say 10 centimeters, so you just apply it with the water truck attached with a road reclaimer, and that would be the application and the mixing of the product with the soil, and then you need to compact it using a smooth drum roller. Okay, so once you compact the road, again, you will need to do it either at 90 or 95% of its dry density, but then after you have compacted the road, the final step would be a final seal application on the surface. Okay, that's the final step, and then you will have an unpaved road dust-free. Again, let me recap that. So you need a water truck, a road reclaimer, a motor grader in some cases, and a compactor. So you apply and mix the dilution with the water truck and the road reclaimer. Then you compact it using the smooth drum roller, and then you apply the final seal coat.